Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam and welcome back to the AFI project. Today we're going to be taking a look at The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. This was directed by John Huston, the director of The Maltese Falcon. Check the link above if you want to check out that video. And it stars Humphrey Bogart, Walter Huston, John Huston's father, and let me get the actor's name right, Tim Holt. And it is based on the book of the same name written by an author named B. Traven. I looked it up, that's his name. But it tells the story of two prospectors who are desperate to find money. They're played by Humphrey Bogart and Tim Holt. But they learn through a story from an old prospector, played by Walter Huston, that there's gold in the Sierra Madre, and so the three strike out to find riches. This movie is incredibly important because it was the first to be shot almost entirely outside of the United States on location, Durango and Tampico, Mexico to be precise. And as kind of a running joke on this series, of course, there was Backstage Shenanigans. Probably the story that took me off guard the most was the fact that this movie was almost shut down entirely, because when they were shooting in Tampico, Mexico, the local custom was to pay off the local newspaper to write favorable stories about them. When they didn't do that, they wrote some fake news. And when the local government read that story, they almost threw everyone from the production out of the city because they were afraid that the movie would paint Mexicans in a negative light. Having now seen the movie, I can comfortably say that that was not the case, but I'm just fascinated by this stuff. But probably one of the movie's biggest haters was the head of the studio that produced it, Jack Warner. When he was pitched this idea, he thought it was just going to be a B-movie western. But when it turned out to be in what he thought was more trouble than it was worth, he was like, come on, let's cut the cord on this thing. John Huston basically had to drag Jack Warner kicking and screaming through the entire process. Warner saying the entire time, this movie is not going to draw a dime. It turned out to be one of the most profitable movies in the studio's history up until that point. And probably my favorite story of the bunch is when Humphrey Bogart, who was an avid yachtsman, was afraid that the shoot was going to prevent him from racing in a pretty famous yacht race in Honolulu, Hawaii. He kept pestering director John Huston, hey, how long is this going to take? I got a boat race to go into. He did this so often that John Huston literally grabbed him by the nose and basically said, it's done when it's done! To put an end to the story, Humphrey Bogart never asked about timetables for the rest of the shoot. I watched The Treasure of the Sierra Madre for the first time for this review, and I gotta say, this movie was excellent. The dynamic between Bogart, Holt, and Huston is what makes this movie tick. In Huston in particular, he won Best Supporting Actor for this movie, and to my knowledge, this is the only instance in which a son directed a father towards an Oscar. If there are other instances, comment down below, because that's the only one I can think of. But as these three start on their journey, they're like, alright, we're gonna get ourselves some gold. And by 6 weeks in, they are just very much the worse for wear. This movie is in black and white, but if you watch it, you can see how they're starting to grow visual beards, they're getting incredibly tired and careworn, they have discovered nothing, and they slowly start to turn on each other. I'll talk more about that in a little bit, but let's move on. Speaking of black and white, let's talk about the cinematography, because this was filmed on location in the Mexican desert, and despite this movie being shot in black and white, it still looks beautiful. You can tell the heat of this desert just from the actors' faces. And the music is equally excellent. This was from composer Max Steiner, who also did the music for the original King Kong. Spoiler alert, that's an upcoming episode of the AFI project. But this movie is not just about these prospectors trying to find gold. This is all about greed. At the beginning of the movie, Bogart and Holt's characters are struggling to make it by. They're getting a few cents here, a dollar there. They're just barely getting by. They then get hired by this company, and the company screws them out of their money. The two confront the head of the company, and they beat him up in a bar and take what's owed to them. Nothing more, nothing less. With very little dialogue, the movie does a great job of showing that in this moment, despite the fact that they just beat up a guy in a bar, they're only doing it for what they believe is the right reasons. But when applied to heat and the promise of free money, well, they start to become volatile real quick. They were generally untrustworthy of each other before all this, but then they start to become just violent towards each other and just paranoid as all get out. And at the end of the day, the treasure on the Sierra Madre is just excellent. Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad, said that this is one of his favorite movies, and I can definitely see why. This movie definitely has Breaking Bad levels of tension and character dynamics, where people you hate will do something you like, and people you like will do something you hate. It's a volatile combination that was just a lot of fun to watch. But that is all from me, guys. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Next time on the AFI Project, we're going to be taking a look at the black comedy from director Stanley Kubrick. It's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. No, I'm not going to say that every time in the review. But if you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down in the comments below, and if you like this video and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to allow notifications. That way when a new video drops, you'll be the first to know. My name is Ryan Cam. I'll see you in the next one.